Don't open the doors, my sister-in-law said through the cracked window. If you love her, you'll let her learn. My daughter Lila was strapped into the back seat of my SUV. The engine was off. The Arizona sun was beating straight through the glass. Her face was slick with sweat, eyes wide and unfocused. She tried the window button again and again. Nothing. Child lock. I grabbed the handle. Locked. I yanked harder. Locked. Lila mouthed. Mom, like her throat couldn't make sound anymore. Marin stood there holding my keys, calm as a therapist. She's fine, she said. This is for her own good. For the family. That was the moment it hit me clean and terrifying. My kid is not safe around these people. I slammed my palm on the window. Unlock it. Now. Marin's smile tightened. Hazel, don't do something you'll regret. I looked at Lila's lips drying out. I looked at her hands shaking. I scanned the lot, saw a fist-sized rock by the curb, and my body moved before my fear could talk. I'm Hazel, 32. I cut hair at a busy little salon outside Tucson. I spend my days making strangers feel better in a chair. I've never been arrested. I don't even like confrontation. But when you see your child fading behind glass, you stop caring about being reasonable. The rock hit the passenger window with a loud slap. Heads turned, phones lifted. The glass didn't break. Marin stepped closer, not toward Lila, toward me. Stop acting unstable, she hissed. You're proving my point. Your point is my daughter can't breathe. I shot back. Marin lifted my keys like a warning. Give me the rock. We'll handle this the right way. The right way, in Marin's mouth, meant the way where I lose. An hour earlier, she'd slid a paper across her kitchen table, all soft voice and concerned eyes. Just signed temporary guardianship, she'd said. Ryan's gone. It'll make things easier, school pickups, doctors. You look exhausted. Ryan is my husband. He's overseas on a construction contract. Weeks away, short calls. A lot of, I can't deal with drama right now. When he's gone, Marin inserts herself like she's part of the marriage. I read the form and felt my stomach drop. Temporary guardian. Marin Cole. Child. Leela Bennett. Duration. 90 days. 90 days is long enough to become normal. 90 days is long enough to make a judge shrug. I'm not signing that, I'd said. Marin didn't argue. She just watched me, like she was studying my reaction. Ryan asked me to, she said. He's worried about you. Worried about me? I'd repeated, because I couldn't believe she said it out loud. She leaned in. He said you've been overwhelmed, that you forget things, that you snap. And there it was, her favorite trick. Take normal mom stress, label it unstable, then offer herself as the solution. Lila had wandered in, hair messy, clutching her tablet. Can we go to the park? Marin smiled at her. Maybe later, sweetheart. Mommy and I are talking grown-up stuff. Lila looked at me with that kid question. Are we okay? I smiled back and lied. We're okay. We weren't. Marin suggested we go grab groceries to reset. She offered to drive because, in her words, you look shaky. I handed her my keys because I was still trying to be polite in a house where politeness was used against me. Inside the store, Lila pointed at a freezer. Popsicle? Marin said. No. Sugar makes you hyper. Leela turned to me. Mom? It's hot, I said. We can get one. Marin's smile went thin. We said no, Lila. The way she said, we made my skin crawl. Like she was training my daughter to answer to her. Lila whispered, My throat hurts. Marin straightened and looked right at me. See? Dramatic. Just like you. That's when I raised my voice, not at Lila, at Marin. Don't talk about my kid like she's a problem. Marin moved fast. Too fast. Her hand dipped into my purse in the cart and came up with my keys. Then she took Lila's hand and said, loud enough for people to hear, Come on, sweetie. Mommy needs a minute. I followed them out, heart banging. Marin, stop! Give me my keys. She didn't turn around. At my SUV, she opened the back door and guided Lila in. My daughter climbed in because adults are supposed to be safe. Then Marin shut the door. Click! I grabbed the handle. Locked. Child lock, Marin said, like it was a parenting tip. Safety feature. Lila's eyes went huge. Mom? I'm right here, I said, forcing my voice calm. Look at me, baby. Keep breathing. Marin dangled my keys. Now, she said softly. Are you ready to sign? Or do we need to involve someone who can make you? Involve someone. CPS, police, court. She was building a story where I'm the unstable one and she's the rescuer. Back in the lot, with Lila sweating behind glass, Marin kept talking like this was a lesson. She needs consequences, she said. Respect, structure, family. I lifted the rock again. Unlock my kid, I said. Or I break the window. Marin's voice stayed smooth. Do it. Then everyone will see who you are. A man nearby raised his phone, recording us. Hey! He shouted at Marin. Unlock the child! Marin turned to him with a practiced smile. Sir, she's having an episode. I'm protecting the little girl. Episode. That word is a weapon. It turns a mother into a threat. I stepped into the lane of cars and screamed. Call 911! My daughter is locked in a car. The crowd shifted. Someone actually dialed. I heard it. Yes, we need police. There's a child trapped. Marin's face finally tightened. Not panic. Calculation. A siren started to wail in the distance. Marin leaned in close enough that only I could hear and whispered, Ryan will choose me. Then she smiled like she already knew something I didn't. The officers rolled up fast 2 patrol cars, lights flashing against the windshields. The second they stepped out, Marin lifted her hands like she was surrendering, keys still in her grip. Thank God, she said. She's having a breakdown. I was trying to keep the child safe. I wanted to scream. But I forced myself to point, not perform. My daughter is locked in that car, I said. It's 108 degrees. She's overheating. One officer moved straight to the SUV. He tried the door. Locked. He looked at Marin. Keys. Marin handed them over with shaky fingers, pure theater. The door opened and heat poured out. Lila sucked in air like she'd been underwater. The moment she saw me, she sobbed and reached for my shirt. I scooped her up and felt how hot her skin was. My stomach turned. The other officer kept watching me like I was the risk. Ma'am, put the rock down. I dropped it. Not because I trusted him, because I needed no distractions. I needed my kid okay. Marin talked fast, low, and sweet, aiming her words at the officers like darts. She threatened to smash the window, Marin said. She's been unstable since my brother left. She forgets things. She gets aggressive. I turned on the child lock so Lila wouldn't get hurt. Lila clung to me, cheeks wet, hair damp. She whispered, She took your keys. The officer crouched near her. Sweetheart, did Aunt Marin lock you in? Lila nodded once, then hid her face. Marin laughed lightly. She's confused. She's upset because her mom scares her. I looked around and spotted the man who'd been recording. Sir, I said, can you show them the video? He stepped forward. I got her holding the keys, he said. I got the kid crying. I got her saying the mom's having an episode. The older officer took the phone, watched for 10 seconds. Then his face shifted less neutral, more certain. He handed it back. We'll get a copy, he said. Thank you. An ambulance pulled in. An EMT checked Lila's pulse and temp, then handed her water. She needs to cool down, the EMT said flatly. Closed cars get dangerous fast. Marin tried to step closer. It was only a minute, she insisted. The EMT didn't look at her. You don't get to guess. While they worked on Lila, the officer asked me the question that always changes the air. Where's the child's father? Overseas, I said. Working. Marin jumped in. He's available, she said quickly. He just doesn't always answer, Hazel. The officer's radio crackled. He turned away, listened, then came back with a new tone. Miss Cole, he said to Marin, what's your full name and date of birth? Marin blinked, annoyed. Why am I giving you that? Because I asked, he said, calm but firm. She answered, still confident. She'd never been treated like a suspect before. The officer stepped aside, spoke into his radio again, then returned. Miss Cole, sit on the curb for me. Excuse me? Marin snapped, the sweetness slipping. Now, he repeated. Marin sat, rigid with offended rage, like the ground had insulted her. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Ryan, I answered, because I wanted no surprises later. Hazel, he said, voice tight. Marin texted me. What is happening? She locked Lila in the car, I said, in the heat. She tried to force me to sign guardianship papers. Ryan exhaled, like I'd inconvenienced him. That's not what she said. I don't care, I said. Paramedics are checking Lila. Police are taking statements. A pause. Then Ryan said, Hazel, you need to calm down. I stared at Lila, my child's forehead still shiny with sweat, and something inside me snapped clean in half. Did you tell her to do this? I asked. No, he said fast. Of course not. Then why is she acting like she already has rights to my daughter? I pressed. Another pause longer this time. Because we talked about a backup plan, Ryan admitted. You've been overwhelmed. I swallowed hard. Ryan, did you sign anything? Silence again, the kind of silence that answers you. My voice went quiet. What did you sign? Ryan finally said. A power of attorney. For emergencies. Marin said it was standard. Power of attorney. A neat little phrase that turns into a knife when someone wants your life. I closed my eyes for a second and heard Marin's voice in my head. Involve someone. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment stunt. This was a plan with paperwork. The officer walked back to me while Lila sipped water. Ma'am, he said, I need you to know something. Miss Cole has a restraining order in another county. My head snapped up. Against her? Yes, he said. And it involves a minor. Marin's face drained on the curb, just for a blink, before she rebuilt her expression into outrage. That's old, she shouted. It was a misunderstanding. The officer didn't argue with her. He spoke to me. CPS will be notified, he said. And for now, Miss Cole is not to be near your child. Marin stared at me like I'd framed her. Then she lifted her chin and called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. She can't keep Lila from her father. She can't just run. Run, like leaving danger is a crime. The EMT finished and said Lila was okay, scared, overheated, but okay. I wanted to sink to the ground with relief. Instead, I felt a new fear settle in, because now I knew two things. Marin had a history, and Ryan had already handed her legal power. And if they couldn't win with intimidation in a parking lot, they were going to try to win with a judge. That night, while I buckled Lila into a different car and drove toward a place Marin couldn't find, my phone lit up with a new email notification from Ryan's attorney. Subject line, Emergency Temporary Orders. The hearing was in 48 hours, and my husband was asking a court to take my daughter from me. Before I go further, if you're still watching, hit like and subscribe. Stay with me, because what I found out next made me realize Marin didn't build this plan alone. And the end of this story is going to make you question what "for the family" really means. I took Lila to my friend Jess's apartment that night. 1 bedroom, cheap blinds, 2 deadbolts. The kind of place nobody thinks to look for you. Lila fell asleep with her sneakers on, not because she forgot, because her body didn't trust that we were staying. I sat on the floor beside the couch and watched her breathe. My phone kept lighting up Ryan, Marin, Ryan again, like they were taking turns wearing my skin down. Then a new number popped up. I answered. Hazel Bennett? A woman asked. Yes. This is Dawn Keller with CPS. We received a report involving your daughter. My throat went tight anyway, even though I'd known Marin would do it. She'd been threatening to involve someone since lunch. I need to ask you some questions, Dawn said. Professional, not cruel. Where does Lila sleep? Who watches her when I work? Do I drink? Do I use drugs? Have I ever been hospitalized for mental health? I answered everything, fast and steady. No, 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 no. Then Dawn asked, Has your husband expressed concerns about your stability? I froze. He has? Dawn didn't confirm or deny. I'll be meeting you tomorrow, and I will need to speak with Lila. After I hung up, I stared at my phone until my eyes hurt. Then I opened my texts. Marin had sent a photo, not the power of attorney, a different form, temporary guardianship, and it had a signature on it, Ryan's. My stomach dropped so hard I actually felt dizzy. I called him. He answered like he'd been waiting. Hazel, please don't make this worse, he said. Explain why your signature is on a guardianship form, I said. My voice was flat. That scared me more than yelling. Ryan hesitated, then rushed words like he could shove them back into my mouth. It's temporary, he said. Just while I'm gone. Marin can handle pickups, appointments. You didn't ask me, I said. I didn't want to stress you out, he replied. Stress me out. Like I'm a toddler you manage with distractions. Ryan, I said slowly, are you trying to take our daughter? No, he snapped. I'm trying to protect her. From what? I asked. From me? He didn't say. But he didn't have to. Then he admitted the thing he'd been hiding behind soft words. I filed an emergency petition, he said, for temporary custody. My hands went numb. On what grounds? You've been unpredictable, he said. You've been intense. Marin's worried, I repeated, tasting the lie. I pictured Lila behind glass, lips drying out. I pictured Ryan's calm voice telling me to calm down, and I understood. He wasn't hearing my reality. He was hearing Marin's. You already chose, I told him, and I hung up before he could turn it into my fault. Jessa made coffee at midnight like caffeine could solve court. I showed her the guardianship photo. Her face hardened. That's a custody play, she said. I know, I whispered. You need a lawyer, she said. Tonight. It's midnight, I argued. Custody doesn't care, she replied. We found an attorney who answered after hours. Nia Park. Sharp, quick, the kind of woman who doesn't get hypnotized by, but we're family. She told me to save everything. Texts, call logs, emails, any video, any timestamp. Family court is paperwork, she said. Feelings don't count unless you can prove them. So I started pulling proof. That's when I remembered my doorbell camera app. Ryan had set it up years ago and never removed his access. I'd never thought it mattered. Now, it mattered. I checked the activity log, and my heart sank. There was footage from earlier that evening, Ryan at Marin's front door, suitcase at his feet. So he'd flown home, not to me, to her. Marin opened the door and hugged him like she'd won a prize. Then she leaned in and whispered something in his ear. Ryan nodded. Then Marin looked straight at the camera and lifted her phone like she was waving at me through my own walls. It wasn't just paperwork. It was coordinated. It was rehearsed. At 1:17 a.m., an email hit my inbox. Notice of hearing. Temporary orders. I opened the attachment and felt sick. The petition described me as emotionally unstable. It listed erratic outbursts. It claimed I forgot to pick Lila up from school. I didn't, Marin had offered, then told Ryan I'd spaced out. It claimed I left the stove on. I hadn't. Marin had cooked at my house once to help and left a burner running. then called Ryan in a panic. It claimed I yelled at Lila. I hadn't. I'd raised my voice at Marin, but on paper, it didn't matter who I'd yelled at. The story was already written. At the bottom, the proposed supervisor for my visitation was listed in bold. Marin Cole. I stared at her name until my vision blurred. The next morning, Dawn from CPS showed up at Jessa's door. Polite smile, sharp eyes, clipboard like a shield. I need to speak with Lila alone, she said. Lila looked up at me, scared but trying to be brave. I nodded, because refusing looks guilty, and Marin built her whole plan on me looking guilty. Dawn took Lila into Jessa's bedroom and closed the door. I sat in the hallway, palms sweating, listening to my child's small voice through the wall. And then I heard it, Lila whispered. Aunt Marin said, Mommy might go away if I don't behave. My throat closed. Because Marin hadn't just attacked me in court. She'd been planting fear inside my daughter. And if Marin could get into Lila's head, she didn't need to win one hearing. She could break us long term. When Dawn opened the bedroom door and stepped out, her expression had changed. Less neutral, more serious. She looked at me and said, We need to talk about your sister-in-law. And behind her, Lila sat on the bed, squeezing Jessa's spare pillow like it was a life raft. I knew then the next part wasn't just about custody. It was about what Marin had done before, and what she was capable of doing again. Nia didn't waste time. She called me that afternoon and said, Hazel, I pulled Marin's public records. My stomach clenched. And? There's a protective order against her, Nia said. Different county. Filed by a teenager. Allegation. Unlawful restraint. My skin went cold. Unlawful restraint is a fancy phrase for something simple. Trapping someone who can't fight back. Nia emailed the documents. I read them on Jessa's kitchen counter while Leela colored in silence. The petitioner was a 15-year-old girl named Talia. Talia said Marin locked her in an isolation room at a behavioral program for talking back. Not for violence. Not for self-harm. For disrespect. That word again. Respect. Marin used it like it was holy. Talia wrote that she banged on the door until her hands hurt. Talia wrote that Marin told her, You'll come out when you learn. Talia wrote that she couldn't breathe. I looked at Lila and felt my throat burn. Same method. New victim. Nia didn't dramatize it. She just said, We're putting this in front of the judge. That night Ryan called again. His voice sounded annoyed, like I was making his trip inconvenient. Hazel, why are you doing this? He said. Marin is trying to help. Did she help Talia? I asked. Silence. Then Ryan said, That was exaggerated. Of course it was. Everything harmful becomes exaggerated when you want to keep loving the person who did it. Ryan, I said. She locked Lila in a car. She was protecting her, he insisted. She was controlling me, I corrected. And you let her, he tried to pivot. If you cooperate, the judge will see you're stable. There it was again. Cooperate, be pleasant, be small, or lose your child. After I hung up, I checked our bank account like Nia told me to. I hadn't wanted to. Money was always Ryan's category. But when I scrolled through deposits, I saw it transfers from Marin every month. Sometimes labeled for bills or for Lila, or my favorite, for family. She wasn't just inserting herself. She was paying her way into being necessary, and Ryan had taken the money, which meant he'd taken the leash. The hearing day arrived fast. Family court isn't cinematic. It's fluorescent lights and parents trying not to cry in public. Nia sat beside me, calm in a way I wanted to borrow. Lila stayed with Jessa because Nia refused to let my daughter become a courtroom prop. Ryan appeared on video from a hotel room overseas, face stiff, tie crooked. Marin sat in the courtroom behind his attorney, close enough to whisper, close enough to steer. The judge was a woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen every kind of for the child lie. She asked Ryan why he filed emergency orders. Ryan read his statement like it was rehearsed. He used words Marin had fed him. Volatile, unpredictable, emotionally unstable. He listed the same claims from the petition. Forgot pickups, left the stove on, angry outbursts. Then Marin asked to speak. Not as the villain, as the worried aunt. I love Lila, she said, voice trembling. I just want her safe. Hazel has been struggling, the judge asked. Struggling how? Marin sighed sadly. She lashes out. She makes scenes. She scares the child. She didn't mention the locked car. She didn't mention the heat. She didn't mention my keys in her hand. Nia stood. Your Honor, we have witness video from the incident that triggered this petition. I would say. Marin's eyes flicked one tiny crack, then she rebuilt her face into concern. Nia played the videos, 2 angles from 2 strangers. Clear view of Marin holding my keys while Lila cried in the back seat. Clear audio of Marin saying, she's having an episode. Clear audio of me screaming for someone to call 911. The courtroom got very quiet. The judge paused the video and looked at Marin. Miss Cole, she said. Why did the child locks appear to be engaged? Marin smiled. For safety. In a closed vehicle in Arizona heat, the judge repeated, flat. Marin's smile wobbled. Nia introduced the protective order. Marin's attorney objected. The judge allowed it. Nia also submitted employment records showing Marin had been terminated from the youth program after internal complaints. The judge asked Marin, were you employed at a residential facility for minors? Marin's chin lifted. Briefly. I resigned. The judge slid the termination record closer. This says otherwise. Marin's face tightened. That program was corrupt. The girl lied. The judge didn't bite. And now you claim Hazel is the liar. Ryan's face on the screen went pale. He looked at Marin like he'd been hit with a truth he didn't want. The judge turned to him. Mr. Bennett, she said. Did you know your sister has a protective order involving a minor? Ryan swallowed. No, Your Honor. Marin's eyes snapped toward him, tiny, furious. The judge leaned back and said, emergency orders denied. Primary custody remains with the mother. No third-party supervision by Miss Cole. And Miss Cole will have no contact with the child pending CPS review. I exhaled so hard my chest hurt. Marin didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She leaned toward Ryan's video screen and whispered something, her mouth barely moving. Fix this. After the hearing, Marin's attorney tried to pull me aside with that polite voice lawyers use when they want you to agree quietly. Nia blocked him with her body. Everything in writing, she said. Marin watched from behind him, eyes sharp, lips pressed, like she was memorizing every detail for later. Outside the courtroom, my hands finally started to shake. Not because we'd won the hearing, because I knew Marin wasn't the type to accept a no. She was the type to turn a no into a new angle, and Ryan standing on that screen had looked less like a partner and more like a man waiting to be told what to believe. That look haunted me all the way to the parking garage. As we walked out, my phone buzzed with a doorbell notification from Jessa's apartment. Live feed. A man in a plain polo stood at her door holding a clipboard. And just behind him, half in frame, was Marin smiling again, like court was just a speed bump she'd lost in front of a judge. So now she was bringing the fight to my front door. Nia rode with me back to Jessa's. Don't go in angry, she said. Go in documented, I nodded. But my stomach was a tight knot. Because Marin wasn't just at the door, she'd brought authority with her. Jessa opened the door before I could knock. Her face was pale. They said it's a welfare check, she whispered. CPS. Inside, Lila sat on the couch with her stuffed cat, shoulders hunched like she was trying to be small. Dawn Keller stood in the living room with another CPS worker, a man holding a tablet, and there was Marin, right behind them, hands folded, expression worried like she'd simply followed to support. Nia stepped in first. Miss Keller, I'm counsel for Hazel Bennett, she said. A no-contact order against Marin Cole was issued today. Dawn's eyebrows lifted. She turned to Marin. Is that true? Marin blinked, offended. They can't do that. I'm family. Family doesn't override court orders, Nia said. Dawn's tone stayed professional, but it sharpened. Miss Cole, step outside. Marin didn't move. Because Marin only obeys when it benefits her, the male worker said. We need to verify the child's environment. Of course, I said. Check anything. My daughter is safe. I kept my voice steady because Marin needed me to crack. About 10 minutes into this, while Dawn walked through the bedroom and asked Jessa basic questions, Marin tried to slide closer to Lila. She crouched, sweet voice on. Hi, sweetheart. You can tell the truth. Aunt Marin's here. Lila flinched like Marin was a loud noise. My heart snapped. And right here before the ending, tell me something in the comments when we're done. If you saw a relative use concern to scare your child, would you cut them off immediately? Or try to keep the peace for the rest of the family? I need to know how other people would handle this, because I still replay it in my head. Nia stepped between them. No contact, she said, firm. Marin looked up at her with fake tears. I'm only trying to help. Hazel is unstable. Dawn turned fast. Miss Cole, I said outside. Marin's mask slipped for half a second into anger. You're all being manipulated. Then she forced the smile back and pointed at me. She's coached Lila. She's turning her against her father. Lila's voice came out small but clear. You locked me in the car. Silence. The kind that makes your skin buzz. Marin laughed lightly. Honey, you're confused. I'm not, Lila said, eyes wet. It was hot, and I couldn't get out. Dawn's face changed, less neutral, more alert. She looked at Marin like the puzzle piece finally clicked into place. Marin stood up too fast. She's repeating what Hazel told her, I said quietly. Lila's describing what happened, Marin snapped. Because you're poisoning her! Dawn lifted her phone. Miss Cole, step outside now or I'm calling law enforcement for violation of the order. Marin's eyes widened. You can't do that. Dawn didn't blink. Watch me. That's when Marin tried one last move. She pointed at the coffee table. What is that? A prescription bottle sat there, cap on, bright orange against the wood. Jessa blinked. That's not, Marin gasped. Hazel, you leave medication where the child can reach it? She turned to Dawn with her hand on her chest. I'm not accusing. I'm just worried. Worried. Again, always worried. I stared at the bottle and felt my stomach flip. It hadn't been there earlier. I knew it. Because I'd been sitting in that room the whole time, watching my kid like a hawk. Nia's voice went cold. Check your recording. The male worker tapped his tablet, brows knitting. We have continuous video from entry, he said, scrolling. He paused. Then his face tightened. Miss Keller, he said. She placed it. He turned the screen slightly. Just enough for us to see. The footage showed Marin slipping her hand into her purse while Dawn was in the hallway, then placing the bottle on the table like she was setting bait. No accident, no confusion. A setup. Dawn looked up at Marin. Hands where I can see them. Marin's face went very still. This is ridiculous. Dawn stepped back and called police. When the officers arrived, Marin switched back to tears instantly. I was trying to protect my niece, she sobbed. Hazel is unstable. She's manipulating everyone. The officer watched the clip, read the no-contact order, then looked at Marin. Ma'am, he said, turn around. Marin's eyes snapped to me, furious. You're destroying this family, she hissed. I held Lila tighter. No, I said. I'm stopping you. They cuffed her in Jessa's hallway, Lila whispered. Is she going to lock me again? That question crushed something inside me, because it meant Marin had already taught my child to fear being trapped. Ryan called right then. I answered, because I wanted him to hear the truth in real time. He heard the cuffs. He heard Marin crying. He heard Lila's whisper. His voice came out small. Hazel, I didn't know. I said, You didn't want to know. He didn't argue. I'm coming home, he said. You can, I replied. But you're not coming home to me. The next week, I filed for separation. No dramatic speech. Just paperwork and signatures that felt like taking oxygen back. CPS closed the immediate danger assessment after reviewing the police report and video. Nia helped me get a protective order for me and Lila, no contact from Marin, and supervised visits for Ryan until he completed counseling and parenting classes. Ryan didn't fight dirty after that. I think he finally saw Marin's help for what it was. Control with a smile. 2 months later, Lila and I moved to a small place across town. New locks, new school, new routines. Lila stopped sleeping in her sneakers. Sometimes she still asks, Am I in trouble? And every time I tell her, No, you're allowed to be safe. Marin's criminal case moved forward, violation of the order, child endangerment, and interference with an investigation. She kept telling anyone who listened that she was being punished for caring too much. Of course she did. That's her whole costume, and I'm left with one question that I want you to answer honestly. When a family member uses the language of love to take a child's freedom when help becomes a trap, do you still call that family? Or do you walk away, even if everyone calls you selfish? Because I walked away. And for the first time in a long time, my daughter can breathe.